Hey, coffee experts. Those of you running independent coffee shops, you're always looking for ways that you can drop your costs. And we here at the Coffee Experts Club really understand that. And so we've started something called Indie Coffee Coalition. And what it's designed to do is to drop your costs on two of the things that you're probably experiencing the highest sales volume in your store. And that is energy drink and frat mix. Those two line items, we've created our own products and are offering you those products at a reduced cost so that you can cut out the Red Bull of America. You can cut out the main lines of energy drinks that you're doing and serve your own energy drink at a reduced cost on a line item that you're probably already making a lot of sales on anyway. The best way that you can grow sales is by dropping your costs and maintaining a current volume. So check us out at indiecoffee.co and we'll love to tell you more there.
Welcome to the Coffee Experts Club, where we discuss all of the insights, expertise, and drama that goes into making your passion your profession. Our hosts, Aaron, Ben, and Drew, are three coffee experts who have taken their coffee experience and turned it into true expertise. They have consulted with major coffee brands throughout the United States and beyond, providing operations expertise and growth strategy for drive-through openings, multiple locations, and everything in between. So brew yourself a cup and hang out a bit with the Coffee Experts Club.
Hey, coffee experts. Good to hear your guys' voices. Hey, and how are you guys doing today?
Hello, sir. Good. I'm doing great.
Good. Drew, Ben, always excellent to hear you. Coffee experts, thanks for joining us today. Great to have you with us. Today, we're going to talk about something that I thought roasters coffee, which if you haven't heard our story and you haven't gone back to our backstory, you've probably heard us talk a lot about roasters. If you have been listening for any amount of time, roasters coffee shop, coffee chain, small little independent chain that we all came out of, started with just onesie twosies and then grew all the way up to 15 stores and a roastery, and then exited with a sale to BlackRock Coffee, which obviously is a really big deal to grow from the origin, one or two. Ben was there from the very beginning all the way up. I came in at about location 5. Drew, I think you probably came in right about the same time, right? Right about Resilient.
Pretty close.
Yeah. So came in right about location 5 and then grew with them to 15. And then BlackRock actually approached me about, hey, do you know the owner of Roasters? Are you still working for them? Would you be willing to make an introduction? And, it led to, one of the biggest coffee franchises on the West Coast buying them out, which was pretty exciting to be a part of all the way through. But what I think that Roasters Coffee did really well. So our origin story being Roasters, I think something they did really well that I don't see everybody doing quite as well. And Drew, you and I have had a lot of conversations about this down in Belize is how do you become the hometown hero? What truly separates you as a coffee shop? Because really, guys, when it comes down to it, everybody's going to say we make the best coffee and we love our customers the most, right? Like really everybody says that, right? So what's your unique identifier? What truly makes you different from every other guy out there? We had the owner of Bentley's Coffee on a few episodes back who talked about their unique identifier is animals. You know what I mean? Like they really encourage people to bring their dogs in and they encourage their baristas to memorize all of the pet names that come through. And then they give back generously to humane societies. Like they've really niched down and therefore they've created this like micro niche of people that's so fiercely loyal to Bentley's because they value the same things as their customers do. I would love for us to talk today about how do you become a hometown hero?
You save a couple kids from a burning building. That's how.
Yeah, put on the coat, bro. Go start some flames, and then
And you do it while you're wearing your coffee shop swag. You say, "I work at."
Oh, this old thing I just did, no big deal, but I do work at.
Yeah, no, I think a hometown hero. So, I mean, there has to be a baseline, right? First, you can't be a hometown hero brand if your coffee sucks. Like if you if you don't have your product down, if you don't have your service down, then don't even like this is not even a thing that you should be thinking about. First, you should be thinking about is my service fast? Is my product good? Are my employees kind to the customers? If you have that, that's what we're saying. Great. That's like baseline. So you are a company that customers will visit. Good job. I think from there, it is then how you're positioning yourself in the community, how easy you are to work with from other businesses, how often you're doing positive things inside the community, how well your baristas speak about it is to work for you. That's a huge thing that a lot of owners don't think about. Like if you've got 3 locations, that's a lot of people inside those locations that are actively talking about your business. And if it's bad, then that hometown hero brand is not going to stick. But if your baristas are talking to their friends about how much they love working at your company, those little things are really what pushes your brand and your company out there in the minds of customers. And when they think of your company in a positive light, the more that you increase your visibility within that community, i.e., putting down more locations, the more you're beginning to cement that hometown hero brand. People see you everywhere, and when they see you, they think positively about you, whether or not they're even stopping to get a coffee or a drink or anything like that. That's how I think you get that hometown hero brand.
Yeah. I remember before we started this business and in my years at Roasters, I was always thinking about opening a coffee shop or franchising with roasters and or just doing things my own way. And I'd have people ask me the similar questions of what is it that's going to make you different? And it's not always an easy thing to answer, especially before you really get into the business. So if you don't have a coffee shop, but you have some nice interests, you probably have a nice direction already. But I wasn't too involved necessarily personally in the community. So really what it took for me, and Aaron and I had discussed many different things before the business got rolling. What it took for me is working in the business for a little while, getting to know the community, and then developing out the systems that ran the things, Ben, that you mentioned, that make good quality coffee, you have good customer service and positive experiences. And we've talked about it plenty of times in past episodes, how to get to the point where you can have the higher level thinking and the freedom to, explore what is in the community that you can care about and give back to. But really, that's kind of what it took for me over the last few years, is getting to know the community, understanding what they care about, because it has to be both ways. It can't just be my selfish desires of things I want to give money to. Part of being the hometown hero is relating to what the people are valuing in the community, what things they'd like money to go to, what interests they have and causes they want to support. So listening to not just the customer base, but the baristas too, because they come from that community.
I think that's a great point, because there's a lot of companies out there that will say, we donate X and X to Y charity, and people are like, I don't care. Like that doesn't affect my city. But you're right. Like if there's charities, or if there's things that people in your community care about, and you say, hey, I care about what you care about, that instantly creates that connection with the community that you're in. And that's where they go, oh, this is my local brand, because they care about what's being done locally.
Mm-hmm.
I really think so. Roasters did a great job, I think, at taking polls, right? They would throw out polls and be like, who do you think that we should support next with our donations or whatever, however it was, we would do days where we would run donation days, or we would do, we'd collect certain things or whatever it was that we would do for different groups. And then, but we would let the community really choose that and give them a vehicle to be able to choose that. Or maybe Drew and I have talked about that, maybe narrowing it down to the top three. Hey, of these three, which ones do you guys think that we should do? And I think giving people a voice somewhere where it can be publicly seen, I also think that really knocks down like us always feeling the pressure of having to come up with it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, like, let the people's voice tell you, and then give back to the people, and then show up super generous. We would print at Roasters, we print those big checks, and Jarek would go show up somewhere and fall and hold up the big check, standing next to whatever it was we were supporting. And then use that for your social media. So like it shows, hey, we're generously giving because you told us where to give to and who to give to. And I think that's a big deal. It goes a long way.
Yeah, no, you're right. I remember we would have, 3 charities in mind, and then we would go to social media and say, okay, you guys vote, which one should we do? And that always got so much engagement, and not just for, the selfishness of social media engagement, but it gets your community involved, because it's something they care about. And when you have a chance to give your customers a bit of a buy-in and a say in what happens in your business, I mean, that's going to cement you in their minds so much faster than just saying, we make great coffee and we donate money. If you can say, we make great coffee and we want you to decide what we do with our money, that creates a lot of buy-in from a customer. That's really going to give you a lot of respect in their minds. We have another client who came up with a genius idea, which I hadn't ever thought of, is that they live in a college town, and they have positions inside their company that they're looking to fill, social media positions, marketing positions. And they said, what if we went and talked to the college and said, are there any programs that you offer here for students getting degrees that need internships, or that need to do outside work? And the college was actually, yeah, we have marketing, we could feed you marketing position students who are going to get a marketing degree. And for them, it was like, well, that's a great idea because this student's going to be here for probably 3 months. They'll do our social media and then they graduate and they go on to a job. We'll get another student who has another social media flair or style. And so their social media is just constantly evolving and changing and keeping people engaged. And that's just a really easy way to again say, yeah, we find our workers, we find all of our, top, level management here locally because we care about the community.
Hey, experts, we've got something really awesome that we do here at Coffee Experts Club, and that's called the My First Drive-Through Coffee Masterclass. So if you're opening your next coffee shop, I think a lot of times you may think to yourself, I know what goes into opening a coffee shop. I've been doing this for years, but maybe you've been doing it for somebody else. And maybe this is your first option of starting a coffee shop on your own. Or maybe you don't know anything about coffee and you're just like, I'm looking for a good investment opportunity. Starting a coffee shop seems like a good place to put it, and you're going to enter into it. But what you don't know is all the things that you don't know, right? And so what we've done with this masterclass is taken behind the scenes how you find your first location, what you need to be thinking about in finding a location. We give you a gift in the masterclass where it's a step-by-step process of how you're opening your coffee shop, the different checkpoints you need from coming up with your plans and talking with the city and then negotiating a lease. And then how do you build a team and what are the different pieces you need to be thinking about? It's a great masterclass, door to door, start to finish, completely free on opening up your next coffee drive-through. So check it out. It's at myfirstdrivethrough.coffee and it's a great masterclass. You won't regret it. We'll see you on the inside there. I think there's something to be said too about micro niching. Like I think that sometimes I think people get afraid to do what In and Out has really done. And that is, no, this is what we do. We're going to put our stake in the sand. This is who we are. If you work at In and Out, and it's the craziest thing, right? We were talking a little bit before the show about hiring and some of the topics we could talk about, like In and Out. If you have tattoos visible anywhere on your body, if you cannot cover them up and always have them covered, you're not going to get a job at In and Out. Like if
Mhm.
you have certain piercings, like you have to they don't want to see any piercings that are only 2 in the ears and nothing else. Like, and if you have more than that, it's not going to work in and out because they're like a 50s based brand that's going after an ultra conservative population and only serving burgers. But because they've niched down and said they've planted their stake and they're not going to change from that, this is who they are. They've grown to a really high success rate for a privatized company that hasn't gone public. I mean, it's a pretty impressive thing, but I think sometimes we feel like we have to play the card for everyone, like we have to be all inclusive. And whereas I think obviously for HR reasons and for reasons that you like, I'm all for inclusion, but I do think sometimes we can get so saturated that it's like, but now we stand for nothing,
Mhm.
because like we do everything. And so examples I've given, and so I would chase the micro niche down even to donation, right? So I talked about how there was a coffee shop down the street here, a drive-through that I drove by and they put it there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is not a great location. You've got competitors on every side and your ingress egress is kind of a pain in the ass to get in and out. So I was already nervous for them. And then, through a friend, they started asking questions and like what I would suggest. And I just told them, hey, listen, based upon their location, based on their competition, the best thing they can do is like lean into what makes you different. So they seemed like they were pretty big into the 4-H community. Like they had some pretty deep
Mm.
ties. Kids were in 4-H. They did
Yep.
a lot of horsemanship shows and things. I'm like, I would go full Western theme with your coffee drive through, and then man, give generously to 4-H, give generously to like your horsemanship shows, the different things you do, because then you begin to throw up the beacon and say, hey, this is who we are and this is what we do. Now, is everybody Western? Is everybody going to love country music playing when you pull through? Like you could go, I think you could go stupid. Personally, I really like the idea of, I told Drew this, leaning in with some cheesiness. I even thought, man, there could be a brand for like having a British coffee shop here where everybody has to speak in a British accent, England or whatever. Or Drew and I kicked around, man, do we bring Coffee de los Mayas back here and go with ultimate like Belizean theme here in the States? Like, I think if you can lean into something that makes you unique, that's already going to draw you out from the rest of the crowd, and then lean in with an intention with how do we donate to people that have the same value system to things that are important to them? Because every micro niche is going to have probably a little bit different of a thing that you're going to want to give to. Like we're talking about Bentleys with dogs, like in the horsemanship community, maybe you're given to veterinarian clinics that help with like horsemanship. Maybe you're given to like groups. There's a group here that works with special needs kids and brings them out to the farm and does like, you could give, there are all kinds of cool things you can do. And each one of those steps is making you more and more appealing to your microcosm and making you really stand out as the one that they're going to want to come to. And sometimes we feel like, well, we want to draw from everybody. We want a percentage of everybody. And I would say there's some of that that's true. But if you've got some things working against you, like you have heavy competition in your area, or maybe your ingress egress isn't great, I think you can do a lot with calling out to your micro niche and then being very generous to the things that your micro niche values. I think you can really knock great dollars that way.
And it can be kind of scary to get individualized, but how many businesses do we know because of their individuality? And how many thousands of businesses do we not know because they're just kind of copy and pasted versions of each other? And leaning into the, what as you put it, the microcosm, your customer base. Like, for example, here we have high season, we have low season, and low season is probably our general customer base because it's locals. And if you think of it that way, you're going to have your local population that you can count on, you can rely on. And if you're just a copy paste image of whatever's going on around you, the traffic is going to naturally shift from one location to another. And there's no real conviction for the customers to relate with what you have going on, and having an individual personality for your business. I think it's a really special thing. And it'll give you something, to kind of invest into as well on your side, because if you try to do too much stuff, you don't execute well on everything. You don't execute well on everything. It's going to be hard to keep up. It's going to be hard to stay updated. It's going to hard. I mean, Starbucks is huge, so they're always producing new drinks every week or something like that. Crazy guys. But back to their roots, like, I don't love their espresso. Like, if you only focus on espresso, your espresso would be great. But your pumpkin spice, extra vanilla, cold foam, whatever's is going on. It just feels like a diluted version of what they could be doing.
Yeah. I mean, all said and done, most communities you go to, the people there want a hometown hero brand. They have Starbucks. Ask anybody. They don't care about Starbucks. They go to Starbucks because they have to go to Starbucks. So because there's no coffee shop brand in their area that is expanding enough to make their commute easy, or is making a product that's good enough for them to remember, or has a niche that's specific enough for them to stick out in their brains. They go to Starbucks because that's what there is. And people want to be able to be proud of something that starts in their area and becomes successful in the area. That was a huge part of our raving fans at Roasters. People were excited. They were like, yeah, I've been going to Roasters since it started. When did you start going to Roasters?
That's right.
People became fans of the fact that they helped us grow as a company. And I think really what the place to start is just ask your community, or ask the people through your social media, and tell them, like, hey, we want to be your hometown brand. What do you think it will take for us to be your hometown brand? And your people, they'll tell you, well, I have to drive 30 minutes out of the way to even get to your coffee shop. Okay, there's step one. You need to expand more. Or I don't know, I went in last Saturday and my drink was cold by the time I got home. Okay, you need to work on your product more. Or your baristas were rude to me. Okay, you need to work on your service some more. Or I don't know, it just seemed kind of like it was just like a Starbucks with blue paint on the outside. Okay, you need to work on your niche some more. Like, just ask your socials and they'll tell you, because people want that brand. And if you can meet what they want, and you have the ability to expand enough, you can easily, just like we did, take over a large metropolitan area, and people begin to, again, rave about how they started going to your coffee shop when you were only one location.
I think I think what you said is really key there, Ben, on recognizing the power that you have to influence people to give you what you want, right? You want to give them what they want, right? They're going to help you inform what you should be to give that to them. But I would also say this, like, there's a benefit on every side of this, right? If you're listening and you're a new franchisee, or you're thinking about doing franchise, there's a benefit in franchise, right? Franchise is very formatted. It's very like cookie cutter. Like, it's going to turn out the same way. You usually get discounted pricing on things that the corporate is buying at large, right? That's the benefit. Independence, your benefit in being an indie is you can throw shade all day long on the corporate expression, right? And I know that's what, Wes did early days at Roasters, right? Was don't support the corpos, don't support the big boxes, don't support, like, come and, like, let us be your hometown hero. Let us earn and I think you can have your ear so much closer to the ground, because, like, a corporate expression has to throw things so far up the chain to get permission to be able to even advertise the ways where indies are like, no, we're advertising like this. We're putting it out today. You know what I mean? We're giving to this. We've decided that today. There's no chain of command. They're just making their own decisions. So I think independence like lean into the fact that you're unique, lean into the fact that you can make decisions quick, lean into the fact that you can ask for that kind of feedback and give them exactly what they want, because the franchises and the corporate stores cannot do that. They may be able to show up, have a lot of consistency or a lot of money backing them, but I would venture to say it's very, very hard for a franchise or for a corporate store to become a hometown hero. And so independence, you have something in your corner, and maybe it's not the discounts and maybe it isn't all the financial backing, but you can sling some good mud at those guys by just leaning into what is our niche and what do we do well and how can we really establish ourselves and entrench ourselves in this community as the hometown hero. So as we wind up, boys, we've talked about micro niche. We've talked about being generous in your community. We've talked about asking people. We've talked about using it as like, maybe let's speak to this as we close up. Sometimes I think that people can feel like, oh, so you're only gonna be generous, so it's self-serving, so that you can be shown as the like person that's being generous. I would say, yes, like in some ways, right? Like, yes, there's two sides to it, right? You're the revenue maker. You as the coffee shop are bringing in money. You're saying, I'd like to be generous, like Coffee de los Mayas. We give a percentage of every cup to our local communities. It's part of our tagline, building communities. That's part of what it is. Legendary coffee, building communities. And so for us, we take a percentage, we put it back into the community. So as we're generous to the community, there is some part of that we're like, we do want people to see that. And that is in some ways self-serving, but it's not only self-serving. I mean, I think that's the thing you have to identify. It's got to be a win-win, right? Like benevolence is something we're helping other people out. We want to benefit them for sure, but it is going to serve us in that we want people to know that we've been benevolent to them. We want people to know their dollars aren't just staying with us. We want people to know we're not just being selfish with that. Drew and I had a whole idea around how can we beautify the towns that we're in? What could we contribute that would make the towns that we're in more of a tourist trap for the tourists coming to it? How can we put our dollars into benefiting the communities? And is there some selfishness in that? Sure, we want people to come to our coffee shops, but we're also bettering everything around us. And I think that every business, you've got to ask yourself, is the community better for us being here? Or are we just leeching off this community? Because I think if we're just leeching off the community, people can tell that, they're going to know that, and they're going to start treating you like that.
Yep. Great point.
Boom.
All righty, gents. Well, thank you for another great Coffee Experts Club. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't checked out Coffee Experts Academy, I'd suggest you do it. 35 episodes where we go deep on all these topics about starting your new location, about how you justify your labor and things financially, how you're doing your marketing. We cover it all and it's a great thing. So if you are looking for more education, check it out there, Coffee Experts Academies. And gentlemen, we'll see you here again next week.
See you guys.
Thanks so much for joining us today. For those of you who are looking to become a coffee expert yourself, we offer an incredible, thorough training online for opening your first coffee drive-thru at www.myfirstdrivethru.coffee.